The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Die Hard, where we are going to discuss the hidden layers and deeper meanings found in this movie. I'm sure there are some somewhere. Joining me today in the panel are David Handlos. Hey, David.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well, thanks. Mike Denz. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Dom. It's good to see you again.
And Thomas Sanjurjo. Hey, Thomas.
It's great to be here. Now, you got to put some jingle bell noises after you mention Die Hard in the intro there.
Okay, now I'm obligated to do that, so I will do that now, yes. If the folks will have heard that already. Folks, be sure to, if you have just a moment, go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from and write a review of Secrets of Movies and TV Shows so that we can get more and more folks out there to join the fun that we're having here. And also share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow this community of listeners. And we have a lot of great content that's still to come in the new year, in 2022. Some really great stuff planned. So be sure to check it out. All right, let's talk about Die Hard. But the very first question that has to come up, because they were releasing this in December of 2021. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Guys, do we have a consensus? Do we have to go round robin on this?
I don't think we have to go round robin. I think we all agree. It's absolutely a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to belabor the point, but as David mentioned before we started, the whole movie's on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
And the quintessential Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life. I think in the very beginning, before they flash back, it's Christmas Eve, but then the whole time it's not Christmas, it's summer, it's whatever. And then at the end of the movie, they sing a New Year's song. They don't sing a Christmas song, and it's a Christmas movie. It's like everyone, I mean, who's I wanted to look this up and I forgot. Is it Frank Sinatra who sings the Let It Snow at the end of the movie?
At the end of Die Hard?
End of Die Hard, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say Frank Sinatra did not sing during It's a Wonderful Life.
No. At the end of Die Hard. Well, I'll look it up. Don't worry. But anyway, yeah. Yes. I have. There's plenty. I love It's a Wonderful Life, but I'm just saying.
Yes.
Die Hard has more qualifications, more jingle music. More Christmas music,
more Christmas references.
Tons of ho ho ho. I got a machine gun. I mean, ho 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 and machine gun. That's like Home Alone.
Isn't Run DMC involved in some way too?
Yeah, Run DMC had a song Christmas in Hollis that was popularized by this movie. So, all right. So we are in agreement that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and anyone who rejects that will be rejected as a heretic. So, all right, moving on from there, we've established that. So this is a 1988 movie directed by John McTiernan, starring Bruce Willis as John McClane. So it's interesting. It's based on a novel, which I just realized, found this out when I was getting ready for this podcast, that it's based on a novel. I kind of want to read the novel now because that's got to be something. But it was not well received initially by the critics, but it was loved by the audiences. It was the 10th highest grossing movie of 1988, the highest grossing action movie, nominated for 4 Academy Awards. I'm guessing it's not for acting, or maybe Alan Rickman got one. I don't know, but
you should have.
Yeah, you should have. I mean, this was a movie that catapulted a bunch of people to fame. Like the cast, Bruce Willis, this was his first big movie. He was coming from TV. He was known for the TV show Moonlighting, being the wisecracking detective in Moonlighting. And now this was what brought him to the theaters. We have, like I said, Alan Rickman, who was known, but this really, his turn as Hans Gruber really was the beginning.
I had never heard of him before.
Yeah,
he was a stage actor before this. This was like his first big screen event, I think.
Okay, yeah. That
And I think he played a alien on a starship too, but he didn't like that role.
No.
That's his other great role.
Yes, his other great role. Yes, but and then of course Snape. But we have Reginald Johnson as Sergeant Al Powell, who would later go on to TV fame with Steve Urkel. I mean, great
typecast as a cop for the rest of his life.
Right.
Yeah.
Family Matters. Yes.
Yep. Bonnie Bedelia. Now she didn't really go very far after this, right? I mean, what was
she went all the way to the second movie?
Yep.
The only other thing I remember her for was Presumed Innocent. That
right.
Oh yeah,
she was the not spoiler alert, the bad one, the actual murderer in that movie.
Spoiler for 30-year-old movie, yeah.
And so she had like that brief moment as the go-to leading lady for Bruce Willis and Harrison Ford, but
late 80s.
Didn't do really much else at all.
William Atherton as the slimy TV reporter Thornburg.
He was a quintessential 80s guy you wanted to hate.
Yes,
he
Ghostbusters.
So good at that.
Yeah. He basically the same role as Ghostbusters,
or real genius, actually.
Yeah. Then there was let's see. The Gleason, Paul Gleason, who we knew as the vice principal from Breakfast Club, shows up again in this as the deputy chief of police, and Alexander Goodenough as Carl, the insane German terrorist. I mean, and then just a lot of these other actors that you just kind of recognize from all those movies from the 80s and 90s, and they just were there.
It's like, hey, that guy who's going to show up in Walker, Texas Ranger in a few years.
right. Yeah. Just a really great cast. I mean, it's a lot of great people. But I want to talk also about the setting, because this is the late 80s, and this is so quintessential 80s. Like, if you were under the age of 25, this is going to be like looking into another world to you. I mean, it has to. Like, the thing that really
I was 17, and I remember.
Right. But I mean, if you're under the age of 25 now, like...
I'm sorry. I thought you meant then. Okay. Oh,
like,
right.
Yeah, this would be looking into a whole nother...
this is bizarro world, right?
Like, the first moment that it looked bizarre to me was on the plane, when McClane stands up and his jacket opens and the guy sees the gun. Like, he's a cop carrying a gun on a plane, because it's a thing cops could do in the 80s. It's just so very different. Like, it was that was the first thing that leaped out to me, but...
My favorite dating of the movie is when Al comes out of the gas station with his Twinkies, and he checks out Nakatomi with Plaza, which is right there, and it pans up and you see that the price of gas is 79 cents.
yeah, that's a throwback.
That's
in
like,
California,
whoa.
no less.
And I know, really. I mean, which meant it was like 50 cents here where I live.
Yeah, right.
New York, or Ohio, either one.
The idea of this big Japanese corporation, Nakatomi Corporation. I mean, back in the 80s, Japanese companies were the successful companies compared to American companies. I don't know if you guys remember, like what was the Michael Keaton movie that
the Cars movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry,
that was such a good movie too.
I almost said Used Cars, but that's Kurt Russell.
Yeah. We'll think of it. But so like the Japanese corporation, things like smoking indoors at the airport, the limo driver bragging about how the car has a phone and a CD player.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's got everything. Just a lot of fun stuff like that. I should mention the setting too. Nakatomi Plaza in real life it was called Century Plaza. Now it's called Fox, or was called Fox Plaza. Now it's Century
Plaza.
Yeah. But so that
and it was an active building too, so they apparently had to be quiet on set all day, because they would be disturbing the lawyers up on the 25th floor.
Right. Yes. David says we messaged the movie with Michael Keaton was called Gung-Ho, and that was a very funny movie, I have to say. I'm sorry. You brought up Bruce Willis as Moonlighting. And how bizarre it was for us to, in the 80s, if you were,
over 10 years old, you were thinking Bruce Willis in an action movie.
Yes.
I mean, this is when only, besides Clint Eastwood, you had to be a former Mr. Universe if you were going to be in an action movie. You had Schwarzenegger and Stallone doing all these action movies, and and then after Rocky, like Dolph Lundgren tried to do some that didn't work, but Bruce Willis, a comedian. And now it's like that's what you do. You get the funny guy and teach him how to do some kung fu, and he's an action hero,
right?
Eddie Murphy, or who's the guy who plays Deadpool? I just had him in my
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds is like action hero, But back then that was like crazy, and now anybody who came, like you said, who is 25 or younger, or even 30 or younger, that's all they think of him as is an action hero.
Right. And anyone, not anyone, but a lot of people will recognize that throwaway line that, when the movie's just really starting to get heated up, he's calling as part of his SOS that there's enough explosive in the building to orbit Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was one of the original choices for the movie.
Right. Yep. Yeah, they offered the role to Schwarzenegger and to Stallone. Both of them turned it down. So, that would have been a funny line coming from Schwarzenegger.
but first, before all of that, they had to offer. They were under obligation to offer it to one of the Rat Pack. So did you guys know this?
Oh, no, right. I heard
so
that.
You got to check this out. So there's a great thing on Netflix that's like the movies that
the movies that made us. Yeah,
and they do one about Die Hard, and apparently this was a sequel to The Detective, which was a '68 movie that Sinatra was in. And they were under an obligation to offer the role to Sinatra first. And so if you could have imagined Sinatra being the lead on this, would have been a completely different movie.
Whoa.
Septuagenarian. He had to be in his 70s at least back then, maybe even his 80s by then. That's funny.
The movie would have been called Die Soon then. Or Die Already.
But yeah, I mean, to go back to the point about that the Bruce Willis is, John McClane was a very different kind of action hero. And like, we like to think of, Kiefer Sutherland in 24 as the guy who's constantly beat up, but keeps on going. Like that's the action. That's sort of an action hero trope we have now. He just like, how can this guy continue to get up and go again? Whereas like, Schwarzenegger and Stallone and the action heroes of the 80s, they got, a lot of physical, beat up, but they didn't look it. You know what I mean? I'm thinking like Commando and Predator. They were invincible. But these were the guys. That's a bit ironic, given Bruce Willis was in Invincible. But these are the guys who get beat up to nothing. And I mean, by the end of this movie, John McClane is literally hobbling on his last leg out of the building, and it really kind of was a new kind of action hero. So yeah, that is interesting to think about, that it started here.
But the whole look of the movie, everything, it changed. Like everybody copied. Die Hard was the first of these movies that I think of recently, like what is it? Olympus Has Fallen. And those kind of movies. These kind of things that center around one action hero and one really well cast villain who's seems like nothing we can do about this guy, and the clashing and just the style of it all is very different from the previous Schwarzenegger and Stallone and films. It was really different, and John McTiernan and everything that they did, it just broke new ground.
Right. I want to talk briefly about the music in the movie, because the music is great. It's funny, given that Michael Kamen, who was hired to do the music, did not want to do soundtrack music. But one of the things that McTiernan wanted to do was he wanted Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, what we know as the Ode to Joy, to be an integral part of the entire soundtrack. And as you listen to the soundtrack, you hear elements of it coming up again and again, sometimes in minor keys when the villains are on screen and that sort of thing, and until it builds up to that moment when they open the vault and it plays, and it's like the light shines on their faces, and
there's even wind coming from the vault, blowing Alan Rickman's hair a little bit. It's
there's negative pressure out of the vault or whatever or something. But
so sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, let's go with that. But I mean, it's just a great soundtrack. I mean, and not just that, but there's plenty of Christmas music, as we mentioned, Winter Wonderland and Let It Snow, and the Christmas in Hollis with the Run DMC, and it was just kind of a lot of fun. And there's even a moment later on where that scene where Carl and McClane are fighting to the death, and where I swore that sounds like Alien, like the movie Alien. It was, in fact, the music from the movie Alien. McTiernan didn't like the music that Michael Kamen had done for that scene, so he kept the temp music that they'd put on it from Alien instead. I thought that was hysterical. But
nothing in Hollywood ever goes away.
No, yeah. So I really like I think the music in this was really great and really, was a key element of what made this a great movie.
And my favorite scene that we can talk about later, that began in the elevator with Mr. Takagi and Gruber going up, and he's even humming. He's humming the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Joy. So that it's everywhere, and it's definitely the bad guys' theme. It's like it represents their desire to get in the vault,
right?
And it crescendos when the vault opens.
And given that they're German villains, and it's Beethoven, it kind of has Germanish. Well, yeah. Alan Rickman's German accent comes and goes, even when he's not intentionally trying to do a really bad American accent.
But what was it? Finster. Finster. Shoot the glass.
Shoot the glass. So, so funny. So let's talk about the plot of the movie itself. We have the couple on the verge of divorce. It's kind of a trope. McClane is a cop, New York City cop. His wife, this is a very 80s thing, gets a promotion in her job, and she goes off to California for this promotion, and he refuses to go, and she takes the kids. And this is the reconciliation at Christmas, or the potential reconciliation at Christmas. And so he's flying out, and she's working for this big firm, very 80s firm. You have Ellis, who is the stereotypical slimy 80s business executive who's doing cocaine every 2 scenes.
Yep.
And I have to say,
ask Holly out on Christmas Eve.
Yes, yes, the married woman. I have to say, one of the things my friends and I always we're always quoting movies with each other. One of the lines we always quote is Hans Booby.
I'm your white knight.
I'm your white knight. Like, I'm surprised, that Hans didn't shoot him right then and there for that line. But just so you have this Christmas party. McClane shows up, and it's very 80s Christmas party. There's one scene of they have to throw in it's 80s action movie, so there's a scene of a naked female chest. At one point, they have to do it. I don't know. It was like contractual.
Contractually, yeah.
Yeah. But
the USA Cup managed to the basic cable managed to block it out, but that's about it. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is it's so inconsequential.
It's completely useless. Yeah. It's completely useless scene.
There's no point to it at all.
Especially since they had already established what was happening with that couple.
Right.
They were 2 minutes beforehand, right?
Right. Looking for a room.
Come into the room looking for a room, and then they leave. It's like, okay, well, we know what's going on. Just why did that even have to come up?
And one of the things I liked, again, this is sort of the 80s thing, that McClane, when he gets to the building, he goes to the front desk, and he's like, I'm here to see Holly McClane. And he's like, just use the computer. And it's just a very 80s touchscreen,
Mm-hmm.
and he has to look her up. And it turns out she's going by her maiden name. And he's very upset by that. And he's like, oh, yeah, Holly Gennaro. Oh, yeah, they're on the 31st floor. That's the only people left in the building. Like,
I know.
Why did you just say that?
He just wanted to show off his touchscreen.
Yeah.
There's only the only people left in the building are on the 31st floor. Just go up. So, but then
we're glad you're going to get shot later.
Yeah, no kidding. That guy is not long for the world. Then McClane acts like a jerk to his wife. He picks a fight with her. He's just flown across the country and picks a fight with her right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like really at that moment of really wanting to reconcile. And he's like, oh, so you're going by your maiden name now. And it's like, oh, dude. And then he, to his credit, he kind of immediately regrets it because, it's like, oh.
He literally hits his head against the wall, against the door after she walked.
Right.
Yeah.
But the chemistry was there. They gave us a little window into why they're living, on two different ends of the coast. I mean,
yeah, they establish a lot very quickly in that story.
It's very good. Yeah.
They don't take too long. And one of the things I like is that they don't spend too much time on the whole build up thing. To the bad guys show up fairly soon, like not too soon, but fairly early. They're there. They pull up in their truck and they unload, and it's all like clockwork. Like this has been planned to the millisecond. Everyone knows what they're doing. I have to say,
even hiding an ambulance in that
in the moving truck. Yeah,
that wasn't there.
That wasn't there when they got there. Yeah, it's a blow up ambulance.
It's a blow up.
And I have to say,
it was a half finished vehicle from Gung-Ho. They just brought along.
That's right.
And that's one of the things about the movies that they started. They get right into it. Yes. They're not doing the Jaws. We'll see the shark at the end, or anything like that. That you build up to the we got to introduce everybody and everything. No, we'll do that real quick, and we're going to get to the action, entertain you, popcorn movie the whole way.
That's true. That's true.
Even just getting this point, they've accelerated to this point, but they've already they already managed to hook early in that John McClane got nervous flying, so he's barefoot to relax that on the plane. So
right,
he's they've had a fight. He's barefoot. He's barefoot, and all of a sudden, terrorists
show up. Yes,
yep.
Barefoot.
Barefoot. His sweater's off. He just has the muscle shirt on.
Yeah,
he's ready to run around.
Fist with your toes, and the bad guys lock down the building. I have to admit, I found the computer guy really annoying. It's just something about him that just
really. He's my favorite. He's my favorite part of the movie. I love that character.
He's just so cheesy. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe.
So smug. It's the smug.
It was the night before Christmas, and out of the house was three blah-blahs going through 2x2 cover formation.
Right.
And I think that I honestly still think that's why when he made it to Walker, Texas Ranger, he got beat up so much. And that TV show.
Right. And then you have they lock down the building. Make sure you stop the escalators. That way no one can go up them.
Right.
Yeah. The elevators still work.
Yeah, the elevators are still working, but the escalators
you're out of luck.
You're not going anywhere. So the whole idea was they wanted to steal $640 million in bearer bonds. Now,
negotiable bearer bonds.
Negotiable bearer. So back in the 80s, the crooks stealing bearer bonds was a trope. Beverly Hills Cop was the same thing. I had no idea what they were. I ended up looking them up later on, when the internet was a thing. And so bearer bonds are just bonds, U.S. government bonds worth a certain amount that they work like cash. Whoever holds them owns them. They're not owned by somebody who signed it or something like that. So $640 million in 1988 dollars. I looked it up. Would be $1.5 billion today. So it's a huge heist, of course.
Is that 20%, like Hans said? Would be sitting on a beach earning 20%.
Yeah, right. Well, it's probably not quite 20%, but you're probably close. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs. Sorry, just I'm going to quote lines at random here.
They're great. I can't stop.
So there's a lot of action. He starts killing the bad guys one by one. Apparently that scene where he was under the boardroom table shooting up through it, the blanks were so loud that it caused him a permanent 2/3 hearing loss in his ear.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that you think about, well, I mean, that's been in the news lately about blanks and on set and, blank guns on set, but it's kind of wild that,
that's another similarity to It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, there. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Spooky.
So, I mean, it's a violent movie. There's plenty of, splatter and blood and people dying.
But it's not as violent as some of the other stuff that was out. Like you mentioned Commando and Predator, and both of those are like the violence in those is gratuitous to kind of a disgusting point, right?
Yes.
Where this
almost
movie's
horror
more
film like.
Exactly. Yeah. This movie's more grounded in sort of a reality. Yes, it's action hero-y, but it's still much more real than that kind of stuff.
You mentioned Commando earlier, where Schwarzenegger wouldn't get hurt. I mean, towards the end of it, he's just basically standing there on a beach, just mowing people down like it was like it was spraying a fire hose. People are just falling everywhere.
It was a game my buddies and I had that we'd go to the movies and we count in the final fight. How many guys does he kill?
Yes,
and it would be like 70, 100. Like it was like these crazy numbers. I remember like what was the Cobra, which was a Stallone one? He has this fight.
I was thinking about that with a toothpick in his mouth.
Yes.
He has this fight in a supermarket and he kills like 72 bad guys or some crazy thing like that, you know? I mean, there's 12 bad guys and he works his way through them, you know, in the course of the movie. So
and the stakes are pretty high.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what makes it. You know, you don't expect him to go kill a whole bunch of the bad guys all at once. You expect that if he gets cornered by more than two of these guys at a time, he's done.
And he's almost done several times just by two of them. You know, two of them corner him early, and he's almost hosed.
Right. And that's the thing is he isn't in control of the situation. He's constantly escaping by the skin of his teeth, and he's constantly on his heels and you know trying to get somebody outside the building to listen to him and cooperate. He's got Al on his side, Sergeant Al Powell, and that's speaking of chemistry, there's such great chemistry between them throughout the movie.
That at the end when they run into each other, it's like there's the love scene that we really like.
Yes.
Yeah, they run to each other in slow motion.
He shoves his wife aside.
Actually, he does, but for a different reason. Yeah.
I love the fact that Al just kind of talks back to the deputy chief of police the whole time, like because
want a breath mint.
Yeah, when he's going to see the FBI, you want a breath mint. Everybody in authority is incompetent at their job. The deputy chief of police, the SWAT commander, the FBI, everybody is a screw up, and the only one who's competent in all of this is McClane, who
the SWAT team who hurts himself on the rose bushes when they're going through.
I forgot about that.
That was a weird, funny thing to add in. I love it
just to show their incompetence. They can't even handle thorn bushes.
I love the fact that they get to the doors and they're like, I can't pick the lock. Get out the welding torch and cut through the lock. I'm like, they're glass. Why don't you just break the glass? So yeah, that was kind of incompetence.
They're shooting at the lights.
I always remember when I first saw that. I was a few years before that, but I always reminds me of the Jerk with Steve Martin. He hates these cans. They're shooting at the cans.
Stay away from the cans. He hates the cans. Apparently, speaking of the SWAT team, they had months of negotiations to drive the tank up the steps of the Fox Plaza. The Nakatomi Plaza place. It just again that emphasizes they were literally filming at where people lived and worked. They had to work around that. I just think that is incredible.
That might have been the whole source of the cut the power scene. Like you can't do this. You're gonna 10 city blocks. I can do it right now. No, you can't.
Right. I wasn't gonna say one of the things I liked was the crawling to the ventilation shafts that were authentically small, not like these giant rooms that people could crouch through, like you have in movies now. And it's that classic scene now, that classic image, which is probably the image I'm going to use for the cover art for this episode, of McClane with the lighter in the shaft. In fact, there is a Christmas tree ornament I saw that's that. Like it's a little diorama of that of McClane with the lighter in the ventilation shaft. That's
and the lighter lights up with your Christmas lights.
Yeah,
you stick the little bulb in there. Yeah,
I would hope.
Yeah, better. Yeah.
One of the things I like is the complex plans. Everyone's incompetent except for the bad guys. Actually, I mean they're really competent. They have this complex plan that they've got all set that they're pretending for at first to be terrorists, and then you think that they're not going to make it because they're going to have everything shut off. When in fact, having them think they're terrorists and shutting the power off is precisely what they want them to do in order to get into the vault. And it's just I really like the fact that they've flipped everything on its head, and it's the bad guys who are competent, the good guys are incompetent, and yet the good guys still win in the end.
Mm-hmm. And I think the brilliant part about this movie is a heist movie gone wrong. And that's like, that's the whole thing about it. It's like you see the heist movie without all the planning, but you see the heist go down, and this one guy just manages to be there and foil it. And if McClane hadn't been there, it would have gone off without a hitch. It would have been perfect.
Right.
The fly in the ointment, the monkey in the wrench.
A lot of heist movies usually do it from the thief's perspective. Can you imagine if this all would have been from Han's perspective?
Oh, we lost David.
I think we lost David. Hopefully, yeah. We lost you for a second there, David, but you were saying a lot of heist movies are from the thief's perspective.
So can you imagine this being from Gruber's perspective?
That would be a very different movie. I mean, and if they had pulled it off, I mean, they would have killed all those people on the roof. The whole idea was to blow up the roof, make the authorities think that the terrorists died in that explosion, and they're off, like you said, sitting on a beach earning 20%.
We're going to need some more FBI guys, I guess.
That's another great line.
This is Agent Johnson. This is also Agent Johnson. No relation.
No
the other one.
Yeah, no, the other one. That was actually another great line. I love that.
Agent Johnson. No, the other one.
I like the also where Johnson's it's like being back in Nam, and the other Johnson is like, yeah, I was in middle school. When Al shows up at the front door and is getting shot at as he's driving away, McClane yelling out, "Welcome to the party, pal!" another great line.
Another line. I mean, we could all go on and on, but this line is for emergency oldie. What do you think? I'm ordering a pizza?
Yeah. Like I'm calling to report an emergency. Yeah.
But I know, I don't know if you were like get to this or whatever, but
just throw it out.
Alan Rickman makes the movie. It would not be the success it was. It would be an action movie. It might have been pretty good, but it throws it over the top because of him. And I don't know, the way he played it. And my favorite scene is from the elevator to when Takagi gets shot. It's just how sinister and funny he is, like it's a nice suit, you got it in London. I think Arafat gets his there. And then, and then he's humming the music and he goes, "Oh, I love these models, the attention to every detail. I did this as a boy." And then he goes, "I could talk about industrialization and men's fashions all night, but work must intrude."
Yeah, he's
and my friend Theo has some questions for you, kind of fill in the blanks kind of questions, actually. And he just delivers them so well and with in an accent. I like it.
But it's a terrible German accent. Like but
it sounds so great.
It's perfect, but it's an awful accent. But and I don't know, his screen presence is such that he can do that and still make you believe that he's the smartest guy in the room. Right.
Yeah. Well, he's so very urbane. He quotes Shakespeare, and the benefits of a classical education, I mean, it's so great. And then later on, when we have this moment where McClane finds him on the roof inspecting the explosives, and McClane doesn't recognize him because he's never seen what he looks like, and he's right there in front of him, and he quickly on a dime turns like, "Oh, don't hurt me," and he does this terrible American accent. I don't know what it was.
Midwestern. I don't know. He was going for like a cowboy kind of,
Maybe it was intentionally bad, just so that we know. But it was such a great turn, and you think, oh no, he's getting the gun from McClane, and McClane knew it already too. I'm not an idiot, he says. I think Alan Rickman's performance in this, it is like you said, key to the movie. So between Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman, I mean, you with either one of them, and like the saying goes, it's not Christmas till Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Plaza.
Yes.
And another thing about Christmas, Franz Gruber, writer of Silent Night, Hans Gruber.
Oh, Hans and Franz.
It's not a mistake.
Yeah.
The Silent Night. I mean, there's a whole Silent Night kind of theme going on here. When you think about it, he wants the lights to go out. It's definitely wasn't a coincidence that they named him Hans Gruber.
One of the things I liked was some of the incidental stuff. So we have the TV news guys, like we have the set where they're interviewing the expert about Helsinki syndrome. Which is like by now
Helsinki, Sweden.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Finland? It's like the guy is like an idiot. The anchor. That was great. I love that. But this idea that at this point the hostages and the hostage takers are identifying with one another, and it's like then you cut to them like abusing the hostages. They're
dragging a body Ellis's dead body out of the room.
But yep. So the movie comes to its natural conclusion where the roof of the building blows up, and you have McClane confronts Hans Gruber. I keep wanting to use the actors' names. Hans Gruber to save his wife. He's got that great moment where he's taped the gun to his back using like the best tape. I don't know where that tape
which is
came
apparently
from.
like waterproof tape that he happened to find for packaging thing.
Yeah.
Wait, it was on top of a crate or a box or something at some point. I remember seeing it, but just
he looks like I think he passed through the mailroom. I think that's what it was. And so mailroom tape.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
Yeah, because he ran through that area a couple of times.
Right, yeah. But like to have that tape be able to stick to his back, as sweaty and as gross as he was, that's some good tape. But he manages to use his last two bullets to good effect and save his wife. But did you notice the way he saved her was he had to disconnect the clasp on the Rolex watch she was given as for her promotion. So a little bit of symbolism there. That he, I'm not sure what the symbolism is supposed to be. That. Her job really was stupid, or I don't know what they're trying to say there.
She had to let go of Nakatomi.
Yeah, that's right.
Re-embrace her family.
Yeah, well,
job is killing you.
Yeah, I'm not sure she has a job there anymore.
I was going to say, I wonder what kind of job would be left after that. But.
Right.
In Die Hard 2, does she still work for Nakatomi? I don't remember now.
I don't know. She was just stuck in an airplane the whole time. That's all.
She was flying in.
Outside of it.
Yeah.
Her husband did save them $540 million in negotiable bearer bonds. So.
I'm not sure how much of that burnt up in the flames and stuff, but to
note there, when Hans Gruber falls off Nakatomi Plaza, the terror on Alan Rickman's face was real.
Yes,
he
got a 3, 2, 1 countdown that went 3. Drop.
Right. They wanted to get it authentic, and apparently that stunt was really hard to do because they didn't usually drop stunt. Even the stuntmen didn't drop backwards. They would drop face first into the bags or the boxes they would sometimes have below them.
And that was uncut, a really long fall. I mean, he fell several stories.
Yeah.
When you watch it, and of course, boy, I hope that wasn't a hostage.
That was good. And I mean, there was even technically it was very hard to film and to keep him in focus as he fell. They had to develop a computerized, computer controlled camera focusing system that for the first time on this film to keep him in focus. So that was a really important scene. That was a great moment. Again, another thing we'd never really seen in a movie before like that, and it was. Because you don't see any lines, you don't see cables, it cannot be a stuntman, and it was really something to watch that scene for the first time on the big screen. So yeah, pretty wild. So any other things you guys want to say about this movie? I got one last thing I want to discuss, but the sort of the larger concept of this movie. But anything particular about this movie that we didn't bring up?
I think this movie is one of those great movies that bridges the fandoms. Action movie fans can watch it and love it because it's a good action movie. But people who aren't into action movies can watch this movie and get something out of it because, the character is not, McClane's not an action hero. He's just a guy doing his job outside of his job. So he's going above and beyond any kind of Call of Duty that he would have, but he's just a human. He's not, a muscle bound meathead. That's you expect him to win. Right. And so I think tying together the concepts of an action movie, a heist movie, and almost a horror film makes this movie really work. Yeah, which is bizarre because it's such a B movie. Like when it really comes down to it, this is not an A-list movie, but it came out so good because it was such a fresh view of what an action movie could be.
That's true.
It was well done. I thought it was well done. I mean, B movie in the sense of a lot of the actors and some of the writing, and everything like that. But I mean, it looks good, especially for '88. I liked the choice of they cast European fashion models as the bad guys with their long flowing hair and everything, I mean that, except for the one, I mean, there was the quintessential, he's Asian. He's the guy who steals the candy bar. He's always like a henchman in different movies. Yeah.
Except when he was Genghis Khan in Bill and Ted.
Oh, okay. Yep. Was he? All right.
Oh, sorry.
No, I didn't remember that. But yeah, I liked that. I like it's one of those movies that you can watch over and over. And every time another scene starts, you're like, oh, I love this scene. Oh, this scene. Oh, this is good.
Yes.
Oh, I love the, when he's tying the hose around his waist and it's like, what am I doing? I have to jump off this building. They're shooting at me.
And then he lands. No confidence at all.
Yeah. And then he lands on this thing. And what is this thing that's sliding? Why is this on the table? This big, long pad that he's sliding, ironing board or something. Yeah. He's sliding off he's got to undo his well done knot. There's just, I'm just thinking going through the different scenes. I could sit here and quote Alan Rickman all night with all the different things he said, it's Christmas, Theo. It's a time of miracles. I mean, everything. It's just, he's so great. Yeah. I could do a part 2 on this and just talk about Hans Gruber.
So, you make a really good point too, that this is, it's not in and of itself, if it were made in a different time, a great movie, as in technically a writing or that sort of thing. But because it came it was different and so different at that time that it came out, it really struck a chord with people. And it's interesting, I was reading that Schwarzenegger was offered the role, but he turned it down because he wanted to do Twins. He wanted to move from action to comedy. And I think there was this was the transition moment from pure action, the invincible macho pure action star, to the action comedy stuff that we've had really ever since. I mean, we still get some heavy action stuff out there, but there's a lot of action comedy.
Oh, yeah,
it's really what all the Marvel movies are.
And even the action heroes that are huge and muscular. I mean, Dwayne Johnson is known almost much for goofing around as anything else.
Right. Like even the Jason Statham movies, there's a lot of. I mean, some of them are more action than they are funny, but they always have the. I mean, there's even the Schwarzenegger. As I think about it, the Schwarzenegger movies had their funny moments. Sully, stick around. The I'll kill you last. That sort of thing. They had those moments, but there was this real transition to the action heroes didn't have to just be silent, but silent and deadly. They could be funny, vulnerable, not perfect, that sort of thing. So it's interesting that this kind of, I wonder if this was the first one, or there's been others in that time period. I'm trying to think of on my feet here, like Beverly Hills Cop, kinda is a comedy action movie, more comedy than action.
it was a buddy cop movie though, and they had kind of perfected that formula enough that Turner and Hooch was a turning of that one on its head, right?
That's right.
So I would say the buddy cop movie was still a different thing, and this one was really for an action flick. This is the first one to really incorporate that believable action hero.
Right. Yeah. I've been trying to think of it. I can't think of anything that precedes it that's like this. Yeah, and Bruce Willis is the quintessential, fun action hero guy, that came right out of this. So, and he's done a lot of movies in that realm. So one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit at the end here is, does the movie have a different feel post 9/11? The 9/11, again, I'm bringing things down now, but 9/11 had, the terrorists attack a building. This was a sort of a lighthearted terrorist attack a building and hijinks ensue. And I wonder, could you do this movie today the same way? Would we have to do it differently? Or has enough time passed in the 20 years since 9/11 that we could do this movie like this? What do you think?
In my mind, it's kind of those magical it depends, because Die Hard preceded it. It was already so firmly entrenched in everyone's that the Die Hard trope or that mindset is already embedded in everyone to this point where someone can say, "Oh, we're going to do Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on a plane, or Die Hard on a and people will go with it even post 9/11, just because if Die Hard had come out like a couple of years, like 2 or 3 years before 9/11, I don't think that would have worked. But it's just baked into everyone's consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah, I think terrorism was a very different thing then as well, because there was a sense of, like, even when they get into this movie, the trope that Hans Gruber goes with is, we want you to release this people and this group of people and this group. He mentions like 7 different completely unrelated terrorist organizations.
And sisters from the Global Front,
the Asian Dawn,
right? That he read about in Time magazine. Right? So it's and I think that's the difference, is that what post 9/11 what we saw was a very different kind of terrorism, which is really a terrorism that's prevalent in other places of the world, where it's about destruction for fear's sake, terrorism in the real sense of causing terror to destabilize a power that you are powerless against. And the two things this movie does to avoid that is, one, they're terrorists in that old taking hostages to free the terrorist friends vein, and then they're also not terrorists. That's I think the thing you could do with this is that they're using that trope to get away with the theft that they want to commit.
Right. Yeah, it lands differently. Yeah, 80s terrorists were like, they were ideological. They were, there were a lot of different terrorist
on the
groups.
Idiot part.
Idiot.
They were not played with the high IQs.
Yeah, right.
In the first of the 2 movies that did the White House attack, the Olympus Has Fallen, they went with Korea, North Korea, as the new bad guy. Here they had these terrorists were not from the Middle East; they were European. I don't know if we had a lot of European terrorists, in the 80s that I can think of.
The Baader Meinhof gang was a German terror group, and then you had. There was an Italian one. I can't remember the Italian one, but that's actually the thing. There were these revolutionary groups, and that's really what they were. More, they were supported. They were supported by the Soviets. They were sort of communist, trying to overturn the Western democracies. So it was a different kind of. It was part of the Cold War more than anything, and it wasn't religion as much as it was politics. And I think it lands differently because of that. One
of the really sadistically interesting things here is what the 9/11 terrorists did, similar to Die Hard, playing on the terrorists are going to try to release the hostages to get something, not just kill them all and fly into a building. So there was that trick that obviously is off the table. I mean, if you now hear somebody's hijacked a plane, you're thinking we're all going to die. There's just they're going to use this plane as a weapon. So you have that thing too, where to pretend you're a terrorist in a movie post 9/11 is not going to work. Because they're not going to think the same thing. They're like, go in, we got to go in right now. We can't negotiate. There's nothing we can do. They're just going to kill him.
Right.
So you have that. It's like we said, it's very different now. But I don't think that, I mean, they've made plenty of movies, that go there, you know, and with that are similar. So I don't think they would die away from it. What was 24's run? Was that mostly late 90s?
No, 24 came out like right after 9/11. In fact,
right. So that was kind of like played on it. That played on the whole thing, but they never went into the planes or anything like that. They just did all this other stuff.
There was, in fact, in the first season that came out in 2001, that November, there was an incident that begins with something on a plane. I think a plane blowing up in the first episode or two. That was very controversial because of 9/11. So yeah, I remember that distinctly. But yeah, I mean, it lands differently in this because, like you say, it's a heist movie. They're not really terrorists, and terrorism had a different face back then. It wasn't the same sort of thing. I mean, just like in Back to the Future, you could joke about Libyan terrorists selling Doc Brown the plutonium. It could be a source of humor. So yeah, let's. I think I want to wrap up, but just kind of any last notes you guys have, or any particular scenes that you love about this, particular lines.
One thing that we haven't mentioned, I guess, is that we have mentioned that Bonnie Bedelia didn't really do a whole lot after she said wasn't as visible as everyone else after this, but her character actually was not a damsel in distress, really.
No,
she was. I mean, she was. They did not. I mean, what was John McClane the hero? Yes, but was she a damsel in distress? She was not.
Right. She had
wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she called Hans Gruber an idiot. What idiot put you in charge? You did.
Because you killed my boss. Yeah. So I mean, that. Yeah. So and she stood it. She was just. I don't know, her aim probably wouldn't have been as good, but she was just as tough as her husband.
Yeah, she was juxtaposed to Ellis, who got hyped up on coke, got brave, and got himself killed, and didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
And she was the opposite. She was calm, cool, collected. Knew that her husband was irritating this guy who attacked the bar cart.
I love that.
Yes.
Only John can make some of that crazy.
Yeah, only John can make some of that crazy. So, she knew he was still alive, but she was concerned about the pregnant lady. She was concerned about people. She took over.
Right.
And she also tried to stay Takagi's hand. Like, she grabbed his wrist, like, keep back. They don't need to find you.
Right.
But he stepped up. Anyway, so you're right. Throughout the whole thing. And this was, late 80s. This was the start of a lot of, women being stronger characters in movies.
Right.
That's another reason I like this one.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other? I did like the moment when John punched the Thornburg in the face for putting his kids on TV.
Well, that was it.
She did it.
She did it.
That's because in the second movie she has a restraining order against
her. That's right.
For hitting him.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That was so good.
Yeah. No, that was great. And naming the chief of police guy Dwayne was great.
Dwayne T. Robinson. He gets a middle initial.
Dwayne.
All right. Anything else?
No offense against people named Dwayne, but that just works really well.
My last thing is the observation that where did all the C4 go? Like you used to see C4 in everything, right? Every movie had C4 in it, and everybody knew how to use C4. Apparently, it was just the thing, And nowadays, like, it's just not anywhere. What happened to it?
I think
it's all about Tide Pods now. Just Tide Pods.
Well, then it got Semtex was popular, and then I don't know. Yeah, there's something else that they use. And I think that like the writers just kind of follow whatever the special forces are using these days. I don't know. It is funny.
What was the stuff? And was it 3 in New York when like the two colors would mix?
Yeah.
Remember that? And it ended up not being anything anyway. But I don't even know if that's a real thing.
Yeah, but they use the colors to drive up the tension.
Right. All right. So if there's if that's it, I think that's about does it. I mean, there's any other lines we want to quote, but it is Die Hard is a great Christmas movie. It is a movie that is yes, obviously it doesn't have the Christmas spirit to it, but it's one of those things that just for people of a certain age, I guess, or just a certain mindset, it's a nostalgia fun thing to do early in December to listen to watch and kind of enjoy that that small tea tradition of Christmas time, and I always enjoy catching it when I can. So I watched it again for this podcast, but I almost didn't need to because obviously I don't remember every detail, as you can tell, but I wanted to watch it, so that's fun. All right, I want to wrap things up first by taking a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of movies and TV shows, including Suzanne G, Mark C, Thomas P, Devin O, and Tony B. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of movies and TV shows and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So before we go, I do want to kind of pitch the next episode. We're going to be in just a week. If everything goes all right, we're going to have another episode of Secrets of Movies and TV Shows, and we're going to be talking about Christmas TV specials, our favorite Christmas TV specials. Not Christmas TV movies like Wonderful Life and in Holiday Inn, but we already did an episode on that a few years ago. Well, I want to talk about Christmas TV specials, animated specials, stop motion ones, live action ones. We're going to talk about our favorites, and we're going to have some fun discussing that. So be sure to stay subscribed for that. But that's it from us this time. What do you think of Die Hard as a Christmas movie or as a great action movie, the action movie that set up the action movies for the next 30 years? You can let us know by commenting on the show, posting at sqpn.com/secrets or the StarQuest Facebook page, or send an email to secrets@sqpn.com. And until next time, Thomas Sanjurjo, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Die Hard.
It was great to be here.
David Handlos, thank you as well.
Thank you for inviting me.
Mike Denz, thank you too.
It's Von Monroe. Never heard of him. Yeah, that's not the same recording, but that's who's saying "Let It Snow" at the end. And I enjoyed this thoroughly.
Great. And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Movies and TV Shows on StarQuest. And remember, yippee-ki-yay!
Beep.
Beep. Hi, everyone. This is Dom Bettinelli, CEO of StarQuest, with a special message as we approach the Christmas season. This past year, the StarQuest Network has continued to expand our mission of exploring the intersection of faith and pop culture through our many entertaining and informative programs. Now we need your generous financial support to reach new audiences with more of the life-changing and uplifting programming we've been creating for more than a decade. That's why it's very important that we hear from you this Advent and Christmas, the time when nonprofits receive most of their support for the year. If you are already a supporter of StarQuest, we thank you and ask you to prayerfully consider increasing your support at this time. If you're not yet a supporter, please become one now. Every gift counts. Could you give $15 or even just $10 per month? Whatever level of support you can offer, please show your support for SQPN this Christmas. And remember that your gifts may be tax deductible. Just go to sqpn.com/give. That's sqpn.com/give. May God bless you this Advent, and may you have a blessed Christmas season.